In an article published in Hellbore magazine's 2024 Yuletide Haunting issue, highly regarded British author, actor, and playwright Reggie Oliver posits that nearly all 20th century authors associated with popularizing and perfecting the ghost story had one thing in common. They were all sons of Church of England clergymen. Oliver mentions several authors therein, but the two we are concerned with today that share some manner of this connection are M.R. James and Algernon Blackwood, from whom our two tales of terror originate. M.R. James wrote Whistle and I Will Come to You, Lad in 1909 or 1904, depending on who you ask. Often misquoted as Whistle and I Will Come, this story has James' trademark cranky scholarship as elicited in the opening of the 1962 BBC adaptation, written for the screen and directed by Jonathan Miller for the BBC's Omnibus in May of 1968. There have been several other adaptations of James's tale of loneliness and horror, but this is probably the most famous. Whistle and I'll Come to You, as the short is titled, does a wonderful job capturing the solitary lifestyle of a bachelor British professor on a lonely holiday in the seaside town of Burnstow. Burnstow is a fictionalized stand-in for Suffolk on Britain's east coast, specifically Dunwich, a place James once wrote of, "There is a presence in what is missing." This is a place that the ocean began reclaiming in the 13th century, a place often called Britain's Atlantis, due to the fact that since that century, the shoreline has been consistently and violently eroded. Buildings fall beneath the waves of the Black Sea as it consumes the land. This is a perfect setting for a ghost story, as the land here represents not just the failing palimpsest of man's history on this planet, but the erosion of life as we know it. In Suffolk, Britain is dying, disappearing into the larger context of the ocean, and conversely, the planet that birthed it. These themes are at play in Whistle, and nowhere can you find a better physical and metaphoric distillation of the nuts and bolts of a ghost story. The actual whistle Parkins finds is a revenant, an item that represents what has come before and since been lost. When he blows it, we find the key element of folk horror takes the wheel of the story. The past comes back to affect modernity. Remember the key tenet introduced by Howard David Ingham: we don't go back. Juxtapose Whistle with Algernon Blackwood's The Occupant of the Room. This is a classic British ghost story without an actual ghost. The Revenant is the hopelessness imparted on a communal space by someone who is given over to the existential horror of the pointlessness of human existence. Kayla Janice's new adaptation of Blackwood's story, the 2025 entry in her The Haunted Season on Shudder, is about as faithful an adaptation as one could hope for. There are no added images of specters, blood, or frenzy, just the quiet creaking of the wind on glass and the midnight thoughts of man slowly being driven into the blackest of mental pits. The film is all the better for its devout adherence to Blackwood's ethos. We drive ourselves to our own end. So, Missy, I know, I originally pitched this as like a folk horror thing, and there are folk horror elements, but I think the reason that there's folk horror elements are because from like the late 60s, early 70s on in Britain, it was tradition for the BBC to broadcast a ghost story on or around Christmas. So it becomes a tradition. And they're almost always based on either Dickens, M.R. James, or Algernon Blackwood. And they tend to deal with the horrors of the quiet British post-industrial revolution, pre-internet society. And I read both these stories again, and I watched both these films. Now, I've seen Whistle and I'll Come before. This was the first time I've watched Occupant of the Room. Obviously, it's new this year. And the Haunting season, for those that don't know, on Shudder, it popped up last year with one episode, and that was To Fire You Will Come. I might be bastardizing the title, but it was a short that was at Beyond Fest, and I missed it, and then it popped up on there. And I remember thinking, like, one episode? Why? It's a film. And then we got another one this year, and I immediately understood what they're doing. Kayla Janice, who's done House of Psychotic Women, she had her hands in Woodlands Dark and Days Bewitched. She made the documentary. She's recreating the BBC's tradition of dropping a horror story on or around Christmas, and so far, like, I just think it's delightful. I mean, I like that nobody really ever explained that. It just I inferred it this year when I saw that. But I know that quiet British folk, like all those things are
Christmas.
well, Christmas, all of these things. Well, Christmas really only figures in that it was a Christmas tradition, which has actually really bolstered my appreciation for Christmas because in Britain it's considered like a haunted season. And we were watching one of there's a bunch of these shorts on Shudder for anybody that doesn't know. There's a bunch, and for anyone like, and we were watching one of them a couple nights ago, and Kirsten's mom came in the room, and she's like, she had overheard me say something about Christmas, and she's like, I thought you guys were watching a Christmas thing. And I was like, no, we're watching this. And she's like, that's not Christmas. And I'm like, the most famous Christmas
Christmas
story of all
story
time is a ghost
is a ghost
story.
story.
Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like,
Right.
it's the death of the year. So there's no better time. So I don't know. I mean, give me your thoughts. You watch both.
I watched both. I like the idea behind it. I mean, I'm not, yeah, British BBC movies and whatnot are like not usually for me. But I love the idea behind encouraging ghost stories for, the haunted season. This is, everything gets cold, everything dies and gets quiet. And, you know, so I like the idea behind it and the idea of having a tradition where you tell a ghost story on or around Christmas. It kind of brings in a little bit of that spooky season that we try to nurture all year long.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched them both. I like the second one. I like the second one a lot better. The Occupant of the Room. It captured the loneliness and everything, but it was still like, I guess it's a much more modern short film. The setting and the hotel and everything. It's got lush colors and things that kind of draw you in. And I think the lead actor was also more compelling. The other in Whistle While I'll Come, or
Mm-hmm.
Whistle and I'll
Then I'll
Come.
come to you,
Okay,
lad. But well, no, that's the story. So whistle and I'll come to you.
okay. Um, I was a little bit confused when I was watching that because he seemed crazy the whole time. And I don't know if that's from the story or if that's just the performance.
It is not at
Okay.
all.
I thought I missed something.
No, in fact, watching it again, I was actually really disappointed. I still really like it for certain aspects, but so having just read the story and then watched it immediately after, first of all, M.R. James is a little bit more archaic of a writer, in my opinion. It's not bad, but you have to kind of just adjust for an older
Okay.
English atmosphere. Algernon Blackwood is a little bit more like, I feel like
He
it's
wrote the second one,
he
The
wrote the
Occupant of the
second one,
Room.
and I think that translates. But also, so in M.R. James's Whistle and I'll Come to You, lad, the professor is not, Parkins is not like he is in the film.
Okay.
Like, he literally is mumbling and twitching the
Through the
whole
whole
fucking
thing.
movie. And
Right.
it robs some of the creep in my opinion, you know?
In the story, he's supposed to be a normal dude until he finds the whistle, right? And uses it.
Yes, yeah.
Because he was like talking to himself from the beginning, and it really threw me off because I thought that I had missed something.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not. I don't know. I remember it being so good. I first saw it in I don't even know when 2010 at the H.P. Lovecraft Film Fest in San Pedro, and I saw it again. I don't know, a couple times over the years. I still really like it. One of the things I like about it is the fact that so there's a book that I just finished reading. There's a magazine called Weird Walk. It's a little British zine, and it's these guys that write it. They walk all over the British countryside and talk about like just the kind of witchy, like folk traditions and monuments and stuff. It's really good. So they put out a hardcover book last year or the year before, Wanderings and Wonderings Through the British Ritual Year, and they go to all of these like Stonehenge type sites and they talk about them and they give you like recommendations for how to get there, where to park, and they give you a
Oh,
little bit of history. And when they're talking, and it was just so funny because Dunwich is in Suffolk, and that's what's falling into the ocean, and that's what James is literally. That's where that story takes place.
oh, okay.
It's really interesting that in this book, in the chapter on Dunwich, they talk about uh, Suffolk lad, and so I'm going to quote this directly. So this is Weird Walk. This book, I'll put a link in the show notes. This book is amazing. They talk about that Brian Eno is from Suffolk apparently, and Ambient 4 on land. I believe it's the final or second last track is Dunwich Beach, Autumn 1960. And it's this sprawling mosaic, like just texture. It's just ambience. And obviously inspired by this. And I feel like that's how they made the best things about Whistle and I'll Come, this 1962 adaptation. There are long shots that feel like they're doing with the camera what Eno does with synthesizers or found sounds or
Mm-hmm.
field recordings, whatever.
Right. It's very ambient. That's one of the reasons that I said I'd give them a watch because a long time ago, you sent me a book called Giving Up the Ghost
Yes,
that I love, and they talk about Brian Eno's music for airports on it.
yes,
Um, and like, I love that album. I listen to it fairly often. I find it very relaxing and calming. It helps send me out. And I discovered it because of that book. So I figured I'd give it a try. And I do like the way the camera moves and it's in black and white, and you're wandering down this beach. It's really pretty. Um, but the guy seemed crazy the whole time. The ambience was good. The dude seemed crazy the whole time. And I'm sorry if I find a whistle the in the dirt in a graveyard, I'm not going to blow on that thing.
yeah. It's funny that I wouldn't either, but I think we are totally in the minority there. Um,
Well,
and
I think we also both have a healthy respect for
yeah,
certain things you don't fuck with.
exactly. And I think other people don't. I think in mass, humanity doesn't have that anymore. Um,
Right, but we do.
we definitely do. But even the way he does it, where he's like, he reads the inscription, "Who is this that is coming?" And he's like, "Oh, let's see," and he blows in the whistle. It in the story, he's it starts with him sitting in like the lunchroom or something, and the other professors are talking to him, and they're like, "Oh, you going to Bernstow? Will you check out? There's this site that I was thinking about, having a dig at. Can you just check it out or whatever?" He's like, "Yeah, whatever." And he's adamant. Parkins, or I think in the story it's Parkin is his name, and in the movie it's Parkins. It's very subtly changed, or might be vice versa. But he goes out of his way to say, "I don't believe in this stuff," and I feel like that's implied in this, but I don't feel like it's exactly there. And it's just more of like it's Nicholson, and I love The Shining, but it's the Nicholson in The Shining argument where he looks nuts from the fucking first time you see him. So
Hmm.
any evolution or de-evolution is just not there because you're like, well, yeah, he's nuts, obviously.
Right. So if you're supposed to be seeing him, spiral and go crazy, this version does not show you that.
No, it doesn't. And that's I didn't know when I first saw it. It made its biggest impression on me. I didn't know I had not read the story, and the other
Okay.
times I'd seen it, I've never read the story and watched it close enough to really be able to like 1-2 compare them. And now that I have, I'm like, story's way better, way better.
Okay.
But Occupant of the Room, I feel like is pretty much a straight adaptation. I think Kayla Janice did an excellent job I think the material was probably easier to adapt. Although, again,
Hmm.
it could have been way more, in your face, and it's just subtle and quiet, and it really gives you those feelings of those like 2 a.m. thoughts.
Hmm. Yeah, it does it well. Um, and it's only about 30 minutes, so it gets to the point fairly quickly.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know that I would have been engaged with a full feature
Yeah.
of that. But that it was enjoyable. I mean, I like the idea behind both. I find the whistle very intriguing from the first
Yeah.
one. Like
It's
the
a good
whistle
device.
itself is cool. I want to know about the inscription and that kind of thing. We didn't get that. We didn't get a
Right.
lot of that. It was just crazy dude going crazier. Um, but I didn't mind checking them out. I feel like the other story, it just I when were these stories written? Is Occupant like way newer? It felt a lot more modern, just in the way, like the setting, the things they're capturing with the camera. It just the other one feels old.
Yeah. So, Occupant of the Room is 1909. And what I've seen, so I've seen Whistle I'll Come to You Lad credited as 1904, but the book I have, which is a digital, it was like one of those like all M.R. James stories for like $2 on Kindle or something
On
like that.
Kindle. Hmm.
It has a date of 1909. So that's why I said at the beginning, like,
Oh,
depends on
okay.
who you ask. But so there's theoretically, uh, Whistle may have been 5 years before Occupant, but they're both right at the same point in history,
Okay.
essentially. But I just think I've read both. I haven't read extensively, but I've read or multiple stories from both, and I think Blackwood is way more approachable. I think he's
Okay. I've never read either of them.
they're good, but it's definitely like with M.R. James especially, like you have to, if you're going from reading something modern,
Hmm.
you've got to shift like shift gears down, like not down as in bad, but it's just written differently, and
Right.
it's a lot of atmosphere, it's a lot of like not I don't want to say archaic English, but it's
It's
not the
just
way people
it's
talk.
old. It's not the way
Yeah.
people talk. Yeah,
Yeah.
I which doesn't I don't I'll read a lot of different stuff, but I don't tend to go that far back.
Right, right. And I think I don't know a lot about Algernon Blackwood, but I think M.R. James was kind of like the protagonists in both these stories. I think he came from
Oh,
academia,
the writer himself, you
the
mean?
writer himself. So and I think that also goes back to the thing I said at the beginning, where the writer Reggie Oliver posits that all these guys that did ghost stories at this time, like William Hope Hodgins was another name. There's a couple others that I'm blanking on. LaFanu, I'm probably mispronouncing that. Um, they were raised with fathers in the clergy, and
Oh, okay.
I think that really says something about how they landed where they landed.
Okay.
So as far as writing and like ghost stories and whatnot, but
Well, because I mean, they definitely kind of put themselves into the story. It seemed because the lead characters are like teachers,
yeah.
scholars, and they don't believe. They don't believe in any of this stuff, and then weird shit starts happening.
And the British, like I call it, like I have this thing in my head called like mid-century British curriculum horror, and it's
I don't know what that means.
so like Pig Blood Blues by Clive Barker is an example. So in Britain, or like Grant Morrison's The Invisibles, there's elements of it there.
Okay.
Neil Gaiman with the Dead Boy Detectives when he introduced them and Sandman. There, in Britain for a long time, like children went away to these schools, right? And
Hmm.
it was like these boys' schools or whatever. It was a breeding ground for all kinds of bad shit, but it was also like it just cultivated this lonely, bereft atmosphere. And I think that it really affected people and the culture. And so
Okay.
these kind of both owe to that as well.
Well, that's interesting to think about it that way because I've read all that other stuff you just mentioned, the
Mhm.
Barker, the um,
Pig Blood Blue is a great
Neil
example
Gaiman,
of it.
all that
Even
kind
though
of stuff.
I think that's not mid-century. I think that actually might take place in the 70s or 80s, but it's a great example of that same thing.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I understand it a little bit better since you're calling out those things
Right.
because I
It's
know
all
those.
it's all there, and like they're referencing, you know, the same thing that this is kind of born of. So, and I'm looking at it as an outsider because I'm not British. I didn't live there. I didn't go to school there. You know, whatever. But it's definitely something I've been aware of and only have begun trying to like define it within the last like 10 years. And that's a mid-century British curriculum horror. Like seriously, can you imagine like, yeah, I'm really into mid-century British curriculum horror. People will be like, what the fuck's wrong with this guy? You have a stroke?
No, they just think you're like a film professor or
Yeah,
something.
well, no, they'd think I was a cunt, is what they would think, and they would probably be right. Uh, but anyway, I think I like that you appreciate it as far as like I first of all I appreciate that you watch them, and I like that you appreciate it as for what it is, which is like I like that the British have an attitude towards Christmas that includes spooky shit, haunted shit,
Right.
because it is the year is dying.
And I love the idea of this show on Shudder that drops a ghost story once a year. Like, so when you presented it that way, it's like, yeah, sure, I'll give it a spin. Neither one of them are long.
No, they're not.
Occupant of the Room was only, I think, 30 minutes, and
It's 36 minutes, and Whistle is 42 minutes.
mhm. Although Whistle felt a lot longer.
Well, you got to listen to that fucking guy mutter the whole fucking time. Um,
But I did like the way it's shot. It's real pretty black and white, and it captures just these quiet, empty beaches, and like that stuff was cool. The the kind of crazy guy freaking out about somebody wrestling the bed, eh. But
well, I love that like, and they do a pretty good job in Whistle of like showing you that like there's a scene in the story where it's like he hears something and he turns over and sees an empty bed. Somebody sits up in it like that, right? The way he writes
okay,
that is like chilling, and then you get what they did a pretty good job of showing is that like figure
the
made
sheet,
of sheets, right?
yeah, the
It's
sheet moves.
it's pretty freaky.
Yeah, the way they make the sheet move, and then it growls. The sound is there's some interesting use of sound in that
Yeah,
movie. It's got
yeah.
like just some discordant noise tones, and then when you hear this sheet specter thing growl, it's a pretty creepy sound.
It is. I agree. Thank you for pointing that out. Actually, it slipped my mind, but yeah, it's good sound design.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it
and
has to be because they're quiet, right? Both of
right.
them are quiet.
So there's
There's
got to be
no
something.
yes.
There's got to be something, but yeah, I mean, it's not none of like it's not my jam, but I didn't mind watching them, and I'm all for in bringing some spooky season into the commercial ridiculousness and corporate greed of Christmas.
Well said.
Let's have some ghosts,
Yeah, well
ghosts
said.
and monsters, and so
So those are they're both on Shutter. So
they're both on
Whistle I'll
Shutter.
Come is on there, and so is Occupant of the Room. That's under the haunted season, and I think if you want to have a little bit of a spooky Christmas, watch them. And like I said, there's others. A lot of those BBC ones are on there. There's some really good ones. But yeah, that's us talking about the haunted season, and that's the Horror Vision. And my name is Sean.
And I'm Missy.
electric cars and social conscience. As she struggles for answers, the killings continue, and Lisa finds the world she knew is little more than a lie to placate the masses and keep a satanic 1% in power. From the demented mind of Sean C. Baker, author of Murder Virus, A Collection of Desires, and Volume 4, comes Black Gloves and Broken Hearts, Teenage Giallo Mystery.